William Byron wins an exciting but rain-shortened race tonight at Atlanta while the playoffs continue to heat up with only 7 races to go. Let's talk about NASCAR's night race in Atlanta. Hello everybody, welcome to Dirty Air. I'm your host Alex Lambert, and let's talk about NASCAR at Atlanta, where William Byron is able to get his 4th win of the NASCAR season. We have so much action to talk about. A thriller tonight, an unfortunate rain-shortened race. The race was shortened about 75 laps due to weather storms rolling into the area. But let's go ahead and get on into it. We have a ton to talk about, but before we talk about the results, before we talk about the playoff grid and the few crashes that we saw tonight, let's just talk about this racetrack in particular, because it's such a unique track. This was when we announced that we were going to run this race in March, or coming up on this race in March, the first pack race or drafting race at Atlanta, trying to turn this race into a mini Daytona Talladega. I was really skeptical. I didn't know how this was going to go. I didn't know if they had enough room to pass. Didn't really know what was going to happen in this race. We had that first race that was in the winter time of 2022, where it was one big pack. Cars handled very well. We went to the summer race last year during the day. Cars handled a little bit more loose, and we had the winter race this year. Once again, the first race at Atlanta this year, where there really wasn't a whole lot of moving around. Joey Logano, Brad Keselowski kind of traded the lead most of the race. They were the dominant cars. They obviously finished 1-2 in that race earlier this year. But with this weekend, with 1 year, about a year and a half or so of this race surface aging, which is not that long, only a year of this surface aging, and the difference that I've seen from not only all 4 races, but from this summer race compared to last summer race was exponential. Last year, it was one big pack. This year, we can look at the Xfinity race on Saturday as well, kind of splitting into separate packs. At times, you'd have a group of 5 leading the race. At times, it would be a bigger pack. At times, the cars would get more spread out. And I think that was really fun because I believe this was probably the first race, and maybe it happened some in the summer race a year ago, but this was the first race at Atlanta since the reconfiguration where most drivers, except the leader, was not full throttle the entire race. And I don't really entirely like full throttle like Daytona Talladega. This was really fun, exciting for me to watch because you saw the drivers, the cars that were better. The Fords were obviously really good. Ryan Blaney, Brad Keselowski, and Joey Logano once again. But you saw with the strategy, the rain coming, that stuff just didn't work out. And with the rain coming, and I hate that the race was shortened by a large amount, 75 laps, a 260-lap race got shortened 75 laps. But the rain coming ramped up the intensity so much. I mean, this was one of those races I was on the edge of my seat the entire time, just waiting for the rain to get there. Okay, it's sprinkling on the back straightaway. How much longer do we have? How many more laps do we have? And then, of course, we got the caution, and then, of course, William Byron was out front. And I just thought it was a really exciting race. I thought the package was great. I liked the way the cars are slipping and sliding. Gained a little bit more grip as the nighttime fell. That's another thing I like, running this race at night. Just phenomenal job building this racetrack. I think it's fun to watch. I think it's great, and it's going to be really fun to see how it continues to change as this track surface wears going into the future. That's going to be something that's really going to be fun to look out for. But let's talk about William Byron getting his 4th win of the season. We've been talking about all year how William Byron, Kyle Busch, kind of those 2 championship favorites. Kyle Busch is once again finishing in the top 10. He's on a 7 top 10 streak right now. William Byron had a couple of bad weeks this summer, has not had the best summer stretch compared to the spring. And we talked about earlier this year how William Byron is always really strong at the beginning of the season. Obviously, last year got 2 wins early in the season and then faded. You saw that kind of happening again with William Byron, but was able to get out there and get the win tonight. A great call to stay out before the rain got there. Obviously, the caution came out, so caught a little bit of a break, but William Byron, once again, is in the top and running better than he did the summer portion a year ago. William Byron, championship favorite, definitely in the conversation for that, but I think Kyle Busch has something to say about that, and I'll talk about that in a little bit when I go through the entire playoff grid. But a great job by William Byron to stay out front tonight. He had guys like Brad Keselowski, Daniel Suarez, AJ Allmendinger, who's good at this type of racing, trying to run him down at the end of the race, and he was able to hold him off, knowing that rain was on the way. So a good win for William Byron tonight. Once again, his 4th race of this season, eighth race win of his career. So half of those wins have come this season. Definitely a breakout season for Byron, and right now I'd say he's one of the championship favorites, if not the championship favorite. This was not an easy night at all for William Byron. Started out the race, got caught up in some trouble. Corey LaJoie, you can see here, goes up the track a little bit, tags William Byron. William Byron slides to the inside of the racetrack, had to come back all night from that, got caught up in some other trouble during the race, but was able to have a good strategy call. Really run in the mid-pack most of the day. Good strategy call at the end to get out front and stay out front. So great win, like I said, for William Byron tonight. Another one of those wrecks, before I get into really all of the accidents, was Kyle Larson. He was running up front. Looked like he had a fast car early on in the race, spun kind of by himself there. Got a little bit of help from the 43 car of Eric Jones, but I think he was already loose. I think he was going to be around either way, but that did not help Kyle Larson. His race was over after that incident. But let's go ahead and take a look at, we have a few more accidents to take a look at, but let's go ahead and take a look at the top 10 right now. Like I said, William Byron with a great win. Daniel Suarez on that points bubble right now, trying to get above the cut line. He's now 3 points above, trying to make the playoffs. A nice second place finish tonight for Daniel Suarez in the 99 Trackhouse Chevrolet. AJ Allmendinger trying to win a race. Once again, AJ Allmendinger, like I said, road courses, finished well last week, has been finishing better at the ovals, has a few more road course races coming up. He can make the playoffs as well, as he's starting to gain on that points gap as well, trying to get to 16th place and make the playoffs as well. It's a really rough start to the season for AJ, but is now running way better. Michael McDowell, he was hanging on to a limb there. He was almost out of fuel. The rain came at just the right time where he was out. He was running on fumes and was able to catch a lucky break with the rain, get a solid 4th place finish on the strategy that he was using. Not only that, Michael McDowell made a great move with one of the wrecks. I believe it was Denny Hamlin, Alex Bowman, where they were sliding down to the inside of the racetrack, and Michael McDowell was heading straight for him, and instead he decided to go in the grass and dodge him. And I just want to mention that because how many times have we seen Michael McDowell dodge an accident this season? I remember I go back to Bristol Dirt when he spun all the way around and then kept going after that and didn't lose but a couple of positions. Michael McDowell is really a wheelman. I think it's exciting to see what McDowell does. He's taking equipment that's probably not top 10 equipment and running in the top 10 somewhat consistently. Michael McDowell really got a lot of driver talent behind that wheel, I'm starting to see. Kyle Busch, once again, was not a top race car, but was able to finish in the top 10, finishing 5th today. Once again, another one of those drivers using strategy. This is Kyle Busch's 7th top 10 in a row. And once again, I'm going to talk about him a little bit more when we go through the playoff grid. Brad Keselowski, I think he was going to be, if he had a few more laps, was going to have a shot to go up there and battle for the win. Keselowski on the pit cycle, had to go all the way back to 17th, was the only one out of those 3 drivers I mentioned that were really good. Ryan Blaney, Logano, and Keselowski were the 3 dominant cars of the race, were the 3 best cars. Keselowski at the end, when the sun went down, was the only one that was able to come back up, and he was charging through the field. A few more laps, I think Keselowski would have had a good shot to go up there, at least finish better than 6th, maybe have a shot to get the win. He was leading at the point when they all came down pit road. When he had to get fuel. He was leading at that point. So Brad Keselowski getting closer and closer to that win. Finished 2nd in Atlanta earlier this year. Just once again, Keselowski just knocking on the door to getting that first win for his new team, and his first win, I believe, since 2021. So it's been a rough few years for Keselowski, but I think he's going to be back to victory lane real soon. J.J. Yeley, another one of those drivers, kind of a lucky break, but was able to stay in the top 10, run decent. A 7th place finish for J.J. Yeley is a really impressive day and a really good run for that team. So good to see him in the top 10. Ryan Blaney, like I said, another one of those drivers kind of charging through the field, trying to get up there, was one of the fastest cars, but just didn't have enough to get back up front. Same thing with Keselowski, just didn't have enough time to get through the field. Ryan Blaney has to settle for an 8th place finish tonight. Justin Haley, a solid 9th place finish. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., once again, running in the top 10 for that 47 team, is back in the top 10 this week. 10th for Ricky Stenhouse Jr., that rounds out your top 10. So let's talk about now the playoff leaderboard, because I want to break this down for a little bit. You have here William Byron, obviously now atop of the playoff leaderboard with 4 wins, and Kyle Busch in 2nd with 3 wins, and then you have Larson and Truex with multiple wins as well, and then you see all the drivers with 1 win so far this season. 11 different winners so far this season. And I think that we have a serious battle right now heating up between William Byron and Kyle Busch, because I think it's really fun to watch how William Byron obviously is able to get his 4th win of the season today. He's been really fast at most racetracks, has been in the top 10 car, about maybe 3rd to sixth place race car, maybe seventh, eighth place race car almost every week, which is consistent. That will get you to the championship four. But Kyle Busch has really been the same situation. We went to a couple of racetracks that are strange, not your typical track. Chicago Street Course today in Atlanta was not the fastest car at all. It was not that fast at Chicago. It was not that fast today in Atlanta. But with the crew chief, and shout out to Randall Burnett, he's been a exceptionally well crew chief when the car's not that fast at getting him track position. Once again, Kyle Busch with 7 top 10s in a row. The last time he didn't finish in the top 10 was when he was running top 10 at Kansas all the way back on May 7th, and he got caught up in a wreck there in Kansas. That's the last time he was not in the top 10, so a really good stretch right now for Kyle Busch. We'll see if he continues that. But Kyle Busch has a lot of chances upcoming to answer back to Byron's 4th win. I look at the tracks coming up. You have New Hampshire. Kyle Busch is good there. The track he won at earlier this year in St. Louis, it's got some characteristics that New Hampshire has. Pocono. We know how good Kyle Busch is at Pocono. We have Michigan coming up. That's a track that would seem to kind of suit Kyle Busch's driving style, very similar to Fontana. Guess what? Kyle Busch won at Fontana earlier this year. Kyle Busch, for the next few weeks coming up, has a lot of opportunities to answer back and get his 4th win and catch up to William Byron. That'll be another thing we need to continue to track. But let's take a look at the guys in green, the guys that are not locked into the playoffs. These guys are still trying to make it on points. And if you're Brad Kay, Chris Buescher, and Kevin Harvick, you're thinking, thank goodness that there was not another new winner, because it's going to take, with the way the points are right now, Harvick, Buescher, Keselowski are in the playoffs as long as nothing crazy happens. The only thing that would knock them out is if you get 3 new winners that are not one of those. If you get 3 new winners, 15th on back, that will knock one of those 3 out. So 2 more winners, you'd be fine. 3 more winners, that would knock one of those 3 out if it's not one of those 3. So I want to continue to watch that as well. They're ticking these races down. 7 races to go. Got a couple of road courses coming up. Got Daytona coming up, but they're glad to get through Atlanta with another repeat winner, a race that definitely could have produced the 12th winner, could have produced a surprise winner, didn't. And I know those 3 are has a sign of relief from that, but especially Suarez and McDowell as well, as they're trying to point their way in too. Daniel Suarez with, once again, a top 10 tonight, 3 points above the cut. Michael McDowell making impressive moves on the racetrack. Not the fastest car every week, making impressive moves on the racetrack, able to finish in the top 10 today. Got a little break with the weather, but was able to finish with a decent result, is now 3 points above the cut line. He's trying to come back from a rough first start to the season. Bubba Wallace with the bad break. At the end of the race, we'll take a look at it here. The 41 car of Ryan Preece gets loose, goes down the racetrack, collects Bubba Wallace with them. Bubba Wallace goes all the way back to 26. Awful day for Bubba, who was running up front. Definitely could have finished way better than 26 if he hadn't got caught up in that trouble. But that puts him 3 points out the cut line with 7 races to go. Has a lot of opportunities to make it up. Some tracks that he's run well at coming up. I look at Michigan, I look at New Hampshire, once again, tracks that he's run well at, has a chance to answer back, get back above that cut line over McDowell and Daniel Suarez. AJ Allmendinger, once again, I said that I think he can go out there and, even if he doesn't win at these road courses, Watkins Glen, Indianapolis coming up, he can at least get some stage points out of those races and get a decent finish and get over that cut line into 16th place or better. Or into 15th, and once again, coming to the oval tracks, like a track like Atlanta, finishing 3rd. That is good. That is what can propel him into this NASCAR playoffs. Had a really bad start to the season, but is starting to consistently run better. AJ Allmendinger right now is out by only 13 points. He's really come back. Ty Gibbs with an awful day. We can take a look at this wreck as well. Cars turn. Corey LaJoie gets turned right in front of him, had nowhere to go, gets hit by Corey LaJoie, and then the number 1 car of Ross Chastain hits the left side of him, really destroys the race car. Nothing he could do there. Finishes 34th after having a decent run. Was in the top 15, top 10 at most of the times Ty Gibbs was, so it's unfortunate. That's a couple of races I can point to where Ty Gibbs should have been in the top 10 but wasn't. In the top 10. I can go back to Charlotte as well, where he was like 5th most of the day, got caught up in a wreck. So Ty Gibbs with a few unlucky breaks has right now got him 26 points below the cut line. You have Austin Cindric 40 points below the cut line. One of the drivers that is no longer on this list that was at one point at the top of this list in the first position is Alex Bowman. Got caught up in some trouble tonight. This was the wreck that Michael McDowell was able to dodge. Denny Hamlin and Alex Bowman. Alex Bowman just gets loose, goes up the racetrack, can't catch the car, hits Denny Hamlin, slides to the inside of the track, ruins Alex Bowman's night. A disastrous night for Bowman, finishing 26, is no longer even in the top 20 in points. I think if you're Alex Bowman now, you have to start looking at trying to find a win. Just the way things have been going for him lately has not been very good, considering he was leading in points this season. Really rough season right now for Alex Bowman with what we have. So that's it. That's really all there is to talk about. We go to New Hampshire next week. I'm excited for that. One of my favorite tracks. This was kind of a long episode because there's so much to talk about after this Atlanta race. I think all my Atlanta race reviews have been a little bit longer than normal. Than most of my videos, but that's it. That's really all there is to discuss. Like and subscribe if you like the video. Please share the video. It helps me out a lot, and I really do appreciate it. And of course, about Kyle Busch with that 7th top 10 in a row. Let's get rowdy.